only ever be 21 million bitcoins allowed to exist. Okay? There is a limit, there's a cap on the amount of bitcoin that exists, simply because when it was created, there was a rule put into its creation that would only allow 21 million coins to exist. We are currently at the 5 million mark, and basically what this means as investors, okay, so the way to think about it is this: we've got 5 million Bitcoin in circulation at the moment. It's been going for 10 years. We've still got now another 16 million to go. So we're not going to run out anytime soon, okay? However, when it hits that benchmark of 21 million, if demand continues to increase, because it's capped, the price will inflate. Because you won't be able to get it easily. Whereas at the moment it's easy to buy and sell it, but when it hits the cap of 21 million, if the demand is still there, which potentially it will be when you understand the market, which makes it a good investment. But as I said, 10 years in, we've only got 5 million. So as you can tell, it's not going to hit 21 million anytime soon. Bitcoin can be traded completely anonymously, but every transaction is recorded on the blockchain. Having said that, it is becoming more and more difficult to make transactions with blockchain without nobody knowing who you are. The reason for that is that normally, because we now get onto exchanges in order to trade, you have to give them your details. So although it still is difficult to trace a transaction, it's no longer impossible. Okay? Bitcoin transactions cannot be reversed. The benefit of this is that it cannot be tampered with. So it's really important, and as I said, we've got a bit on wallets, and there's a bit there around when you're transferring, you've got to make sure that you're transferring to the right place, because if you don't put the correct address in, if you transfer it to somewhere you didn't want it to go, you're not going to get your coins back. Okay, so it's really important that once you're in the transfer game, that you know where you're transferring, and I always triple check my transfers, because I don't want to lose my money. Okay, some people choose to hold Bitcoin as an alternative to savings in traditional accounts because of price appreciation, which we've already said there's a cap. So potentially, in a number of years' time, your Bitcoin could be worth a lot of money if the demand is there. So we'll talk a little bit about the blockchain. We'll go a little bit more in depth, but we'll still keep it nice and simple because it is something that is complicated, but we will do our best to simplify it, okay? So if you go to www.blockchain.info, that is a blockchain wallet, and you can actually see what the blockchain looks like on that wallet. I do have a picture, I think after this slide, of what blockchain looks like, so I'm going to show it to you. But that's a website address that you can go to check it out, and it'll give you a bit more info. Blockchain technology is the software behind all cryptocurrencies. Much in the same way that a computer has an operating system, Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies operate on a blockchain. So Bitcoin cannot operate without blockchain, but blockchain can operate without Bitcoin. Okay? They're two different technologies, but Bitcoin is tied into the blockchain and needs it to function. Blockchain facilitates cryptocurrency mining and can transfer money, media, and any form of information. It is currently the fastest way in the world to make these transfers. One of the reasons why you have millions of pounds and millions of dollars being put into the cryptocurrency market is because the blockchain in itself has a variety of uses outside of cryptocurrency. So as a very quick example, the government of the place of Estonia, for example, is trialing putting all of the medical information of everybody in the country onto a blockchain. So that if one person turns up at a hospital or a doctor's or a dentist or whatever, their information is on the blockchain, which then can be accessed immediately. without any having to go to a doctor and have your information transferred, etc., etc. And the same can be said for any other type of media. So again, one of the things they're looking at is the music industry. So if you create a song or a record or whatever, as soon as you put it onto a blockchain, nobody else can claim that they've made it because everything is time-stamped. In other words, if I put it on today at 3 o'clock, it timestamps it today at 3 o'clock. So if somebody in 2 weeks says, no, I created it first, well, the timestamp says, no, it was done today. And so the blockchain and its technology is being used far and wide outside of the cryptocurrency market. But the thing to remember that if the blockchain is going to increase in technology and popularity, the cryptocurrency market won't be far behind it because they're connected. So as blockchain becomes more and more popular, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency will increase in popularity because they're so closely connected, okay? It is open and closed sourced, centralized and decentralized, okay? So that means, when we say open sourced and decentralized, that means that anybody can get on there and look at it and see transactions. But there are some blockchains that are centralized and closed source, meaning that they are closed to everybody else except for the people that create it, okay? So you can have both types. Its beginning is a Genesis block, which is then added by further blocks of information, creating a chain of information that cannot be changed once added to the blockchain. So I'm going to try and do this really simply to give you an understanding of how blockchain works. So we create a program known as the blockchain, and we begin with a block of information called the Genesis block. Okay? We can put whatever information we want on that Genesis block, and then that will be the starting point. The next block of information will contain a certain number of, if we can say megabytes or whatever the case is. That block will contain a certain number. When it is full, it will then move on to another block. When that is filled up with information, it then moves on to another block, another block, another block, another block. That's why it's called blockchain, because you have a chain of information. Now, the reason why this is so safe in terms of transfers is because if I try and hack the blockchain and I manage to get into a block, I cannot change any information in that block unless I hack every other block of information in the chain and go to the Genesis block. You can only change information in the block once you hack the Genesis block, and even if you manage to hack the Genesis block, there's only some information you can change. So to be very honest, the fact that it's been in operation for the last 10 years and it has not been hacked, I think is because people just don't even bother. Yeah, because when you look at Bitcoin that has been in operation since 2009, if you can imagine, every transaction adds to a block. It's been going for 10 years. Can you imagine the amount of blocks that there are? So it's impossible to hack. Okay? So that again is one of the reasons why all of these governments and countries are looking at blockchain. Currently the safest way to transfer money and a variety of information, as we've already said, it's unhackable. And also, in order to be able to hack a blockchain, the hacker will need to control 51% of all of the nodes or the computers that power the blockchain. So if, let's use Bitcoin as an example. Let's say there is 10,000 computers running the blockchain for Bitcoin. You would need to be able to control nearly 6,000 of those computers in order to begin to hack it, which is an impossibility, seen as if Joe Bloggs owns one computer and Jenny owns another computer, you can't put them all together to be able to hack them. It's an impossible task, okay? But in order to hack it, you need to control 51% of every computer connected to that blockchain. So governments, institutions, banks, and many financial institutions are currently developing their own blockchain. There's been hundreds, if not millions and billions of dollars pumped into blockchain technology. The blockchain which powers Bitcoin and the different cryptocurrencies is multifaceted and is being used for other purposes other than the crypto market, i.e., as we said, Estonia, that's looking at a way to hold medical records. Cryptography, I'm getting a word out in a minute, also known as hashtagging, or hashing, sorry, turns large amounts of data into short numbers to be decoded and verified, and this in short is how Bitcoin is mined. That is the mining process on the blockchain. So basically, if I'm submitting information to the Bitcoin blockchain, my information is coded by cryptography, okay, before it is added to the blockchain. That is a mathematical equation, because it's now encoded, that the computers that are connected to the blockchain have to solve. The computers that solve it the quickest unlock Bitcoin, and that's how you mine. So in order to mine, you need to be connected to a blockchain, and you need to have significant speed and power, because you've got to beat all the other computers on the system to solve that equation in order for Bitcoin to be released. But as we said earlier, now that companies fill rooms full of computers in order to solve those equations quickly, it's just too expensive to do. Okay, this is an account, and what I wanted to show you here is there, can you see that? That says block 485877. That is the blockchain. So this transfer was added to the blockchain, and it was confirmed by 2 of the computers